Thank you for tuning into the Embodied Mother podcast. I am your host, Jacquelyn Paige. Join me as I share my stories of my own experiences of moving through the threshold of motherhood and the wisdom that I have developed along the way. It is my hope that this is a space where mothers will walk away feeling empowered to embrace and nurture themselves and to feel grounded in their role as mother. Together, let's build the skills that will help you step into your sovereignty as mother and be the light and the pillar for your family. I can't wait to journey together. Welcome to the Embodied Mother podcast. I'm your host, Jacquelyn Paige, and this season is going to be all about deepening our relationships. And so I'm so excited to have Aubrey here. Welcome, Aubrey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I am very excited because when I was chatting with you about your expertise and the wisdom that you carry on communication and really just coming with the lens of curiosity and how communication can really actually deepen our relationships, I knew that you were the perfect fit of just bringing your expertise and your wisdom here to this podcast. And so I'm very excited for this conversation to unfold. But before we dive into your work, I would just love to have a little bit about you. Who is Aubrey? How do you show up in this world so that we can just get to know you a little bit before we dive into the conversation?
Yeah, who is Aubrey? I feel like I am infinite things, like we all are. But at this current point in my life, I am a full-time single mom. I have been for all of the years of my son's life. I am pursuing my master's in transformative leadership. I have a background in communications and community organizing. And wouldn't call myself an expert, but maybe we all are experts in communication actually, but then we start gathering all this stuff and all these identities we start to wear and all these stories we start to attach to. And then we lose that ability to really communicate from the heart. And then we separate our hearts and our minds.
Mm.
And I think, what has really driven me to be so community oriented and communication focused is the division I see consistently. We are so divided as individuals within our bodies, our hearts, our spirits, from God, from the land. And then we look at the communities and how communities of people are so easily divided. And this is historically present. And I'm also driven by the fact that we are not machines. We're not computers. We are living beings. We can work with, computers and technology, but we don't work that way. We are not linear and we are not mechanical. So there's a lot of personal inspiration that lead me into a path of academia to weave these together so that there's more merit because I think our personal stories, those are very valid, but it's like different mediums, right? Academia will reach a different audience. Certain people might think this has more validity if there's this academic background. More people resonate with, oh, you're just a human doing human things.
Yeah.
So I would say, I'm just another human being really trying to embody being a human and feeling and being and really utilizing this digital platform to do so. So I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, I even as you were talking, just hearing the threads that you were speaking and bringing light to is really how we're moving in our family of just being closer to the land that we live on and even getting to know that and communicating even with the land that we are living on. And I have goosebumps even as I'm sharing that because that's so much of who we are. We are these, primal beings that live in these boxes that separate us from reaching our fullest potential because when we're out in nature, that is when I feel the most alive. That is when I feel the groundedness of who I am. And that is when my truest self is able to come online deeper and get to know myself deeper. And even just seeing my family as a unit, we begin to come alive and have more unity when we are maybe stepping outside more and just orienting our lives to be in a space of communing with the land. And I think that honestly has helped ground our nervous systems to have more peaceful communication and to have more stability in just how we interact with one another. And so I just love that. Even as you were talking, I just felt myself like grounding even deeper in just hearing that piece of sharing who you are. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I would love to just hear more about your learning on communication and maybe just even seeing where many people come from, or even like where you have come from in the past and how that has evolved as you have, been driven by your own personal interest and through academia.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of this wisdom that I carry around communication, it's because it's all, yeah, the wisdom, it's already out there. It's been there. It's not like I'm saying anything new. And it might be new to some people's ears and minds, but it's already been out there and they're illuminating to me. So I pull them in and I weave them together. And most of my communication experience is experiential. Like we are always communicating, we are always in relationship. And I wasn't always aware of that when I was younger. Maybe I was as a child and we're so pure and we're just connected to it all and we're really feeling, but we're not conceptualizing, we're
Mm.
not identifying and labeling. And it's so hard to speak just personally and then like more broadly because I'm like, it's all. So like personally, if I think about how I was raised, don't communicate, not with words. You don't communicate with words. Absolutely not. Unless you want to shame, unless you want to be really mean. And otherwise, you communicate through all of that nervous system. I want to say like off gassing. We could call it projecting, but it really is like it's emanating from everybody. So you might not be saying what's going on. And then for children to have to dissect and observe their parents. And thank goodness, I guess, I wasn't like, that's how I want to do it when I grow up. I'm so thankful. I guess it doesn't feel very conscious at this point. Now I'm like, now it feels very conscious to not repeat the damage I saw and just the disconnection. And I always think now disconnection is such an opportunity for connection because it's that in between space, super uncomfortable. And I think Brene Brown says something about like 8 seconds. It's an initial 8 seconds of like terrifying discomfort. You make it through, and then, but I've listened to all these different people and experienced these different modalities of communications and how do you even initiate it? How do you step into a conflict when people are already raised, already ignited?
Mhm.
Oh, well, you have to catch them before they're ignited. I'm not a psychic. I'm not inside of their body. Why is it all my responsibility?
Yeah.
And this is, I'm kind of ping ponging all over, but this is what I learned with my dad was, okay, do all of the emotional labor and you can maybe have like 2 to 4 minutes of a calm conversation. But I did have to script. So I would be observing, develop a script, how to say it so kindly, don't hurt the feelings, which is really the ego. We all got the ego. I think we come out of the womb, maybe that's the only time free of the ego. I don't know how quickly, these little babies are so innocent and pure and egoless. And then I don't know when it comes in, but then we start gaining all this stuff and attaching to all this stuff. So I learned, and then my parents separated when I was 5 or 6. So I was primarily with my mother, who was very silent. Even anger wouldn't be communicated. Stonewall woman, no facial expression. but you feel the emanation, you feel it emanating. And she chose more unhealthy men who were progressively a tiny bit nicer, but it was a similar dynamic with my father where they could communicate if it was them being right about something, them being angry, them justifying their anger. And they kind of normalized and perpetuated that, like, oh, that emotional stuff. Ugh. And it's like you're probably the most emotional because you're not even giving it a chance to come out
Mhm.
at all.
Yeah.
And then watching my mom, I'm just like what I saw as a child. I remember lecturing my mom, even as like a 10 years old. I have memories of being like, Mom, what the hell is going on here? Why can't you say anything? Why aren't you protecting your children? Why are you letting us be victims of this? Different words at that time. I'm sure I didn't have that kind of vocabulary, but I now she's got a whole array of physical ailments.
Mhm.
Her womb space, and that's a big one. And man, that's a whole different podcast episode. Talk about our womb space being our compass. Oh, and how many women actually have these fibroids? They're getting hysterectomies. It's so, and a lot of these women they're not even connected to their compass. They're not vocal. Oh, that's why it gets tricky. You know,
Yeah.
it takes such a toll to not release it and not just release, but move it, to move the energy. And they say trauma gets stored in the body.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how do we release it? I think it's powerful to move it through all these different ways, through the voice, through the body, through the spirit, talking about the land. We are the land. We are nature. We're not separate.
Yeah.
There's so many indigenous teachings and wisdoms about they refer to all of the plants in nature as they or he or she. It's not it.
Yeah.
That's already a level of separation. And personally, I've seen again and again this hyper divisive language even when I'm in a conversation with somebody about it's just about us, our relationship, whether it's business, romantic, friendship. It's I notice some people tend to go broad. They say, well, people
Mm.
do A, B, and C. And I say, well, we're not talking about people, we're talking about you and me. How do you feel? And I've noticed, and I found myself doing that with my father, with romantic partners and with my friends. And I'm thinking, that's actually a heavy load to bear because I feel that, and I know I'm not the only person that does this, but now we're having an awareness just not just of how we are in communication, in dialogue, in relationship. We're carrying an awareness for the other person. On one hand, that can seem nice and accommodating. On the other hand, that's not our burden to carry. It's not our job. We won't even be very accurate in it because we're not inside of the person. And then we're enabling that behavior to perpetuate because, hey, if you act this way, we got you. We'll do it all for you.
Mhm.
And then it gets hard because I want to like almost silo in the men because I see it more in men, but women totally do it too. I just see it more in the men where we've normalized women and children. I've seen children doing this to their parents. I was a child doing it to my parents, and then I see children still doing it to their parents. The children are like building the stage of safety for their adult parent,
Mhm.
and it's just like that's so layered as well. So it's most of this interest in communication comes from my like I would call it a cosmic wound of this togetherness thing. I feel like I have this cosmic duty to bring people
Mhm.
together. And being together with each other is such a beautiful natural thing. And I think historically, it, I not just I think, we have evidence that historically you're being held accountable on a regular basis. You don't get to escape the village. Everybody knows whose hut you were in. Everybody knows if you didn't show up for the hunting trip. That just, I think, wasn't an option. You didn't not show up for the things because your whole village was counting on you. And now we don't do that. Everyone is not in a village. We have fallen into rugged individualism, hyper independence, and everyone wants to do it for themselves. Well, now we're bouncing back and thinking about self-care, but self-care is a whole other um, category that it's just hard to include it all.
Yeah.
You can't include all of the awareness all of the time. And it's it feels almost impossible at times. You've probably had these conversations with people where you're coming with your full heart and you are open. You're like, you can tell me I might be wrong about something. Give me some new information. And the languages aren't matching up. The openness isn't being met. The reciprocity isn't there.
Hmm.
Also, am I getting so off track or should I just
Yeah.
keep going?
No, I really love everything that you're saying. I'm having so many pings as you're talking, even before you move on. Even just how you were saying this individualism. And I've noticed with, the advancement of technology and the increase in the use of screens, I have noticed the dysregulation that comes from like the overuse of these devices, and two, how how challenging it can be for some people to honestly just even be. How you were talking about it's natural and so important for us to be in community or just be. And I've noticed that that can be challenging, even just the being with one another in the way that we have begun to cultivate our daily lifestyles to be so busy or to be so consumed that that is what we're used to and that's what our nervous system is calibrated for. So the actual just sitting and being in space with one another, it's almost it feels like a rarity. And I say it feels like a rarity for me as I began to deconstruct my lifestyle in that way and to become more intentional, I noticed the shift in myself and in our family unit that that is actually where we were operating. And so that is the people that we had cultivated around us. And so as we began to unravel that, I was like, oh, this is where a lot of our relationships are attuned to because that's how we were attuned to. And so even just watching the journey, getting to witness the journey of deepening those same relationships and watching how the either the resistance or the willingness to meet you, right? And then also seeing how the level of the level of depth that I'm willing to go within myself is what has transpired into newer relationships that I've been cultivating or just happen to just start, and it's just so interesting. I just I have found that it almost feels like the level of openness where I'm willing to go is what's going to be a mirror for my outside world and my relationships.
It definitely is. I think there's so many, and you can always find a study or a quote that will verify, that's what's tricky too. And then so talk about the screens, and then we don't really have people teaching media literacy or discernment or things like this that we really need. I like that you bring up the point of noticing what you and your family were embodying,
Hmm.
noticing so much power in the noticing
Hmm.
and then noticing who's around you and how you all are like, we all are collectively normalizing it, right? There's we can say something is like typical. What do they say? Like, oh, women are getting hysterectomies. This is
Hmm.
normal.
Yeah.
Well, or oh, your teenager hates you as a parent. Teenagers hate their parents. That's normal. It's becoming a typical thing. I don't believe it was ever normal. I don't think even historically, evolutionarily, those things were normal. We've
Yeah.
made them normal because we have to, for a whole collective to admit the way we're living is unhealthy and damaging to not just the environment, to the humans, which we are the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like some cataclysmic stuff for a whole collective to be like, whoa, yeah, we're normalizing all this like sickening stuff. I that's why it is like, okay, so we zoom in, we got to do local. So you're noticing your family and the people around you. And it's interesting too. I wonder if you notice that maybe some of when you started making these shifts, I mean, you make a shift and then you have to maintain it. It's
Yeah.
exercising a new muscle. And then you're like, hey, we're a whole team family. So like we gotta be exercising these muscles together. But it was like my idea. So I have to like spearhead the whole thing. And so it's a lot. But you have a husband, so I'm hoping that this like you got your co-lead, you two are
Yeah.
co-leading, and it's not too much weight. And then the kids see that being modeled, and
I would actually love
it's
to speak to that
yeah.
because it it's so true that I'm a 5-1 manifester, so I love research, I love growing, and I love that like give me more. I want to just keep growing. I want to just be the best version of myself every day. And every day I can show up and be better. And so sometimes my husband is like, "Okay, I can't keep up. Like we're doing a new light environment. We're outside more. We're like cooking out. He's making me an outdoor kitchen so I can like cook all
I
our meals
saw, I saw.
outside." And it has become where I'll recognize, okay, we're gonna have a scenario. I know my needs and just speaking that to him so that he can provide that safety around our little unit to stay embodied of what we value as important for us to stay in that harmony. And it was like this ebb and flow of like experiencing it before I realized what my needs were. And I'm like, oh, okay, got it. We're not going to repeat that again. Now I know in this scenario, this is what I'm going to need. And just honestly sharing that and his desire to protect that need is so innate within him that all I have to do is tell him. All I have to do is tell him, right? Like, and he's like, of course. Like, and I like even we even just had our in-laws come in town and I was like, okay, if I had it all my way, this is what it would go like. And I was like, what is it how you would go? He's like, that's all reasonable. I agree with what you're saying. And I'm like, that was so easy. I just had to say it and get clear on myself and what my needs are and just communicate it. And look how simple it can be. It really can be so simple. So I
Mhm.
love how you were saying the noticing and the shifts. And it was like this journey, this like the waves back and forth of we're starting a new neural pathway as a family and getting to practice that more and more. And it is like messy in the in between before you're figuring out what that looks like.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and it's a constant evolution of that. But I think it has made me become more aware of being self-responsible of what I need to just communicate that beforehand and allowing that to, transpire into what we're wanting as a family.
Hmm. And I love that. I'm like, it sounds like you and your husband gets a gold star. I mean, how many relationships do we hear? It's just, again, that's a whole other podcast episode. But and if we're speaking specifically in like romantic partnership dynamics,
Mm.
that's a whole other like can of worms of communications, okay? Because you can have one person, one partner, and not many people come out of the gates like, hello, new person who I might be with. I know my nervous system. I know my attachment style. I know my traumas. I know my communication styles. And this is my goal in life. And tell me yours. We don't typically approach relationships like that. So then most of the time we're already in a relationship. And then the somebody, it's not always both people that are getting ignited to do this self-reflection.
Yeah.
I feel like it is again natural, but like you brought up, I don't know if you just brought this up, or maybe it's the episode. I listened to one of your episodes yesterday about like taking all this stuff from outside, taking this validation, seeking the stuff outside, which can also go in with that lifestyle of like this individual lifestyle. It's like, well, we're taking these stimulants, whether it's like a substance or it's people or it's the screens, and we're filling something where
Mm,
that space can actually just that's the space, that's the in between where all those emotions and feelings, it can be keep the movement. When you're filling it all up with this stuff,
yeah.
then it's going to cause these blockages. And it's going to, here we go, the nervous system is going to be totally heightened. You're not going to be able to relax. You're not thinking about your breath.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even talk about how many people, I've been in so many different meetings, and if you talk about taking a deep breath, you see some eyes roll. They don't want to take a deep breath, but you know, in moments of chaos, they're automatically taking some deep breaths.
Mhm.
So you have to phrase, it's even the way you word things with a partner. If you said something like breath work, one partner might be like, yes, breath work. Another might be like, that woo-woo stuff? No. But if you say, how about some stress management techniques? You put it more mechanical, logical. So that, and it just gets it's so nuanced. It's so layered. And that's why I feel like just an approach of curiosity, like
Mm,
always approaching with the curiosity and you asking your husband's opinion. You tell your husband what you want, and he's like, full support, got it. Can't necessarily keep up with everything because we're not the same person, but you tell me what you need clearly. And I'm assuming as the outsider, you're coming in with this calm, open, loving. You probably already have established a dynamic of like, yo, we're always a team. So
mhm.
he's not coming in like, you want me to do more stuff? You think I'm incomplete. You are invalid. Because that's a big thing
Yeah.
that comes up. People
Yeah.
will speak their mind. We can be as kind. Like I was saying earlier, you could script it. You're like, okay, I have
Hmm.
something I need to address, but I have to say something nice first. And then two nice things, one critical thing, two more nice things. And they call it the sandwich, and it's like, oh my God,
My
that
husband
can't
has literally been like, my attention span is this. When you
be.
start sandwiching, he's like, I appreciate it. You want to like build me up. He's like, just get straight to the point. He has said, just get straight to the point and we'll be great. Like he's like, I don't need all this fluff. He's like, my attention span is right here. Cut it right there and then we're good. But how you were saying, setting the stage, one thing that we have practiced actually is asking permission. Are you open to hearing something right now? Because even just
Mhm.
asking that permission instead of just dumping something on someone
Yeah.
when they may not be in the space for it, or, you know, if I just first wake up, I don't want to be having this serious conversation. I want to ground my body, my mind. Like, I want to, like, get into
Mhm.
just waking up, and it's that simple tool of asking each other permission if we're willing to hear something or if we're open to it has been game changer, because if they're not, then we have to respect that this is not the time to bring up something, especially if it's going to be something that might be not I wouldn't say criticism, but maybe changing or shifting the way we've been doing things. And that requires some energy to hold.
Mhm.
Oh, we're asking for some change. Okay. And so that alone has been so transformational in the way we receive what each other is saying to one another, is just by simply asking permission. And I have taken that tool and expressed it even in my friendships and how powerful that's been. or
Mhm.
um or like if we're voice messaging back and forth, I will say, I'm gonna say something. If you don't have space for it, just pause this and listen to it when you do. And just like practicing that, I don't that just the generosity of asking. That's not the word I'm looking for, but what is the
Mindfulness,
yeah.
like
Yes, like courtesy, just like the courtesy of it. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's amazing that you and your husband are doing that, the asking permission. And then it's like a constant acknowledgement of self to be like, okay, I want to bring something up to my husband, my friend, my coworker, my child. The child's a whole different thing. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. But we'll keep the child separate from this one. But feeling like what's my goal right now? What am I feeling right now?
Yes.
Because if I'm just feeling calm and chill and I'm like, hey, there's this thing I want to talk about. Do you have space right now? Or can we have a time later? I know for me personally, I love when someone is like, no, I actually don't have space, but tonight, this evening, I do. Or actually, tomorrow, I do. Having that future, and it doesn't have to be tonight at
Yeah.
5:45, this exact, not like that, but no, I'm not available right now for that. I hear that you want to talk about something though. So later today, tomorrow, those things are super helpful. I notice sometimes too that I have I'm thinking, oh, I'm about to be so logical how I present this thing, but my system, my heart's pounding, I'm shaking a little bit, I'm feeling the heat. They feel that. That is communication. Even if
Hmm.
they're not like, I know your heart's beating, I feel the heat. They're like, I feel like so their system is going to talk about the mirror. They don't even know that their system's really mirroring it, but then they're reacting. The defenses, whatever, kick in. Sometimes people's systems are like, this is an attack.
Yeah.
Put the shields up or run away. That's why we got a lot of avoidance, got a lot of defense, because someone might say, no, I don't have time to talk about that right now. And then if I'm in that heightened state, I'd be like, oh no, I'm not of value. I'm not
Mm.
important. I don't matter right now. We're not going to talk about it now. That
Yeah.
is likely what I would do if I'm heightened and I'm approaching this conversation. And it could be similarly, you're like, hey, I want to bring something up. The person can, a lot of times, like, oh, snap, what? And then they might be like, yeah, let's talk about it right now. But then they're all heightened
Yeah.
because they're so scared of. So there's so much like, hey, it, I want to bring something up, not a huge big deal.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, how many things do I have to say to make someone feel safe? How many things I have to say to make myself feel safe? And I think that's where the trust and the truth come in
Mm.
with the relationship. Oh, I know that you and I we've built trust. I know that you communicate honestly with me. Sometimes we're a little awkward and tense and we fumble, but we always are committed to the team. We're
Yeah.
always committed to, and I think too, if we have evidence, whether it's the friendship or the romance, that we typically enter with that curiosity and we enter with that like, you are my teammate.
Yeah.
There is nothing about you or us where I'm going to want to attack you. There's nothing about this where I'm going to want to shame you. I'm going to want to collaborate in our conflict. When you can have that as the norm,
Mm.
and that's what's so intense when you're building new relationships in any dynamic. You don't know what conflict looks like with them. And you can't necessarily, people will say, hey, just so you know, I'm a direct communicator, give it to me straight. That's not enough. That's not, we have to feel it and experience
Yeah.
it. And I say so much in my communication styles and theory and concepts is, and I've heard this too, they call it the white water. They call it turbulence. And pretty much now, and maybe for many years in life is turbulent. I was just at this TED Talk 2 days ago, and one of the speakers was saying, people keep saying change is in the air and they want all the change to stop. And he goes, change is the air. And I'm like, yes, we are constantly, if you think of our bodies in the earth, we are constantly moving and changing. All these cells, all these fluid, like we are in constant shift and motion. You just go and stare at the grass for a little while. You see all the different life forms in there. Go look in some water. It's just, we're constantly changing and shifting. We don't need to change at that same rate, but keeping that movement and that momentum. And I think it can be very intimidating because we do like our comfort. I don't even know that we like them. I don't know that we like our comforts necessarily. There's just this illusion of safety.
Yeah.
And there's that cool quote, choose the what is it, the comfortable hell over an uncomfortable heaven,
I
something like that.
know.
Yeah, there's something like many people choose their comfortable hell over their uncomfortable heaven
Makes sense.
because we haven't been there yet.
Yep.
That's it too. So we repeat, what are you and this person repeating?
Mm-hmm.
And that too, it's like we talk about these habits, these neural pathways. We have to repeat it. We do work on patterns and loops and habits. I mean, think about how many times your brain loops over some argument or it loops over some weird pat looping is trying to close these loops. And so we have to be that little turbulence in ourselves
Yeah.
and break it. And those
That pattern
cracks.
interrupt.
Yeah, exactly. And then when we have those little cracks in something, that is the room for expansion.
Mm.
And so there's also this level of willingness. You can have the best communication skills, the most awareness, the most compelling research, but if someone isn't, you talked about the depths you go within yourself, and then it can mirror out, and then some people will reject that. They don't want to go deep. It's
Yeah.
scary there. They don't know it that well. It hurts there. And hurt means bad. But what if nothing is just good or bad?
Yeah.
This or that.
Neutral.
It ju- it just is. And there's times too when I've thought about God, I'm like, okay, because my son asked me, he asked me, Mom, why does God make ticks and mosquitoes?
Mm.
What's that about? I thought God wants good for everyone. And I'm like, I really don't have any perfect answer for that. But I feel like God gives us all these opportunities. And if God's given it all, it's all here. It's all here, it's all connected. And if we're truly committing to ourselves, we are embodying that self-commitment. It doesn't look perfect. We're not machines and we're not a magazine cut. It's we are embodying this. God, I feel like God's like, all right, more opportunities. I trust you.
Yes.
I trust you to take care of you. Like, I don't feel like God's responsible for every single individual, but God's like, yo, I love all of you always. I really hope you take care of yourselves down there. And we're like, okay. It's taken me so long to be like, okay, I gotta stop asking from you all the time, God.
Do.
You, you give me so much.
Yes.
You already give me everything. I don't need to be asking more. Sometimes ask a little extra, but it's more thank you,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
there are also, um, there's research on the nervous system, how it responds when there's more gratitude.
Yes.
Like the tension that comes up when we're in anxiety and in regret and fear, but this nourishment and this calming that comes when we're feeling the gratitude. And it doesn't have to be a forced thing. Like there are moments where you'll feel it. It's like, whoa, that was like this really traumatic, painful thing. You're in the middle of grief, yet you're also feeling gratitude
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
And if we can realize that too, I notice in very tense topics recently in my coursework, we've been discussing race and gender so much. Talk about tense, because this is all new. They, them, the pronouns and the tagline. It's new. And not everyone is into it. And there are people that are really into it. And then there's people that are just like, whatever. But there are strong opinions about race and gender. So it's a tense topic. And so that's something that well, how do you enter tense topics in a way that's like, hey, I might not even agree with what you're saying, but I'm willing to hear it because the way you're presenting in this calm, open way about your feelings and your experience is real. And we can hold multiple things that I can believe in this and not believe in that. And I can feel this and that at the same time. You can be all this at the same time. You're not just this or that. And even within those contexts, it's like, well, what stories am I believing?
Yeah.
What narratives have I clung on to? Because that's a big one I've noticed in relationships is, oh, this person is supposed to act this way and I'm supposed to do that. Well, who said that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't we get to rewrite that? We can rewrite the script. And I think that's a hard thing because whether it's parents, I would say TV was a big one for me. TV. TV was all that garbage, toxic relationships, all those girlfriends, catty girlfriends,
Hmm.
slamming the door on each other, slandering each other.
Even books. I find
Oh,
myself
books.
filtering books to my children. And I'm like, why am I having to filter this child's book of how they are interacting with each other? And I do not want to normalize. Even there's been multiple books. I'm like, ooh, a chapter book series on homeschooling. I'm like, let's try it out. And the siblings are literally bickering and just tearing
Hmm.
each other apart subtly. It's very subtle in how they do it. And so even just to piggyback off what you're saying is, these ways of being or these patterns and habits that we have in communicating, like you said, are they even ours? Like where did we get this from? Was it from what we were exposed to in our family, from TV, from books? And what I have noticed in developing more intentional communication is coming, like how you were saying, coming in with that lens of curiosity when I do feel that activation within me. What is it about me that is being activated by what this person is doing? Because it has nothing to do with what they're doing. It's my response to what they're doing. And even just even just simply coming at it with curiosity has really been so helpful to diffuse my activation because it instantly just regulates me back down. Oh, I don't have to like attack this person. They're not doing anything to me, right? I don't have to come onto this defense. And it's like I begin to even like zoom out and like have this bird's eye view of like you were saying, we have two truths. My truth is my truth and their truth is their truth, and they can both simultaneously exist at one time, and that's okay. And so it's almost like that curiosity helps me zoom out to look at the overarching experience right now and even just getting intentional. What do I want to embody right now in this, maybe in this conflict or in this moment that feels a little tense that's coming up? What do I want to embody? Do I want to embody integrity? Because that has
Mhm.
been, one of our family values that we're weaving in more. What does integrity look like right now that I'm being activated? And just even just slowing down, like you were talking about the 8 seconds. My goodness. My goodness, sitting in silence, even that can feel so uncomfortable, but yet so necessary
Yeah.
for the deeper layers to just unfold. Instead of the surface level like reaction, very quick responses, can we actually slow down and allow a response that is within more integrity to come about and to transpire here? And I think that is just this whole conversation is lighting me up because it's so important in the way we interact with one another. It doesn't have to be so reactionary. It doesn't have to be this way, even if this is how you have always operated. There can always be an opportunity to deepen into what you want to embody in this conversation. And it can really become simple when we have more awareness of how we're showing up in that conversation.
Hmm. That awareness and that mindfulness is a muscle. It is a muscle. And again, I don't know I know many people who grew up with spirituality, I would say, or religion. They didn't talk about the power of breath and pause and mindfulness. It's very, very interesting. And I'm glad that the curiosity thing resonated with you because when we can enter with curiosity, someone says something, does something that upsets us. The heart starts to go, we start to get tight. Stories, stories, story. Now we're reacting to the story we just made off of this person's action. we are closed off to a truth. Sometimes, because I feel personally, I'll catch myself. I'm in the story, I'm getting, but I can't be pulled out. If someone's like, "Hey, Aubrey, hold on. I feel like you're getting too heightened." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I'll even tell people like, "Can you help me? I know I don't want to give extra, but sometimes like, can you help?" Like I welcome being called out. I welcome being called out.
Yeah.
Because it's a team thing. Like let's come into conflict. It can be fun. I think conflict can actually be fun because especially if you know it's like this is not a live or die. This is not make it or break
Yeah.
it. No one's dying. No one's divorcing. We're not having a friend break up. You're not getting fired. Just it can literally be fun because you can like call each other out a little bit. And it's like, do you believe that story? It's like, you're always acting like this. Am I
Mm.
always, do you really believe that story? Do you? And, oh, you're so this, you're so that. And being able to ask it and maybe even ask it inside so you can just come to calm inside and then be more present and try not to label the other person. I mean, pointing something out like, hey, I'm feeling like maybe you're closed off or you're feeling done here, or checking in. How are you feeling? Because again, you can be in these situations and if people are starting to feel heightened and you're like, hey, let's take a breath.
Yeah.
So many people are gonna resist that. Like my son, 7, I don't want to say he loves, but big, high reactivity. And I'm like, all I can say is, please take a breath. Please take 3 deep breaths. And
It's so
um,
funny though, because when you're in it, like I'm all about the deep breaths, and my husband will be like, take a deep breath, and I'm like, don't tell me
that's,
to
yeah.
don't tell me. But like you said, we're on a team and he's gotten to know what I need in that moment and he will bring in this playfulness. He's like, just come give me a hug. Come here.
Yes,
Come here. Just
yes.
let me. And I'm like, I don't want a hug. And he's like, shh, 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 just come here. And like we'll just bring this playful energy and just wrap his arms around me and he'll literally feel my exhale and like my nervous system just release. And he knows like when I'm already heightened that like more criticism is like not gonna be what is gonna be helpful in that
Right.
moment. And so it has been getting to know each other and trusting that we're on the same team. And it's been an evolution of that because at one point we didn't feel the support of one another being on the same team. And it's been this journey of cultivating that trust, surrendering our hearts to one another instead of just like protecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love his playfulness because that is hands down what will help any of us. Even the way he parents when my daughter is in a moment or my son, like he just brings his playfulness and it snaps us out of it. And I'm like, yes, like I tell him all the time, I love your playfulness because it is just that positive energy that just snaps me out of like whatever funk I'm in or the tense moment. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The humor,
yes,
humor being,
yes,
and that's where it's like we got to open up. And again, it's so different if we're talking about years of experiencing, trusting. You've let the armor go off the heart. Because how you cannot go that deep if you got armor on the heart. Oh,
yep,
I'm always going to protect myself just in case. Well, their heart feels that and they're going to do the same.
yep.
How deep are you really going to go? How deep are you really going to go if both hearts know and souls know one foot's in, one foot's out?
Mm-hmm.
You can't, it is a full surrender.
It is. I
And
would
then
love to touch upon, you said like parenting is like a whole nother, but I would love to touch upon how you do use these skills with your son. And because children they've only been here for three, what, 5, 3, 5, 7, 8 years. I mean, they don't have a lot of experience on,
no.
developing these skills. What are some techniques that you have found helpful in helping diffuse the escalated energy or emotions, that come along with parenting.
Oh, yeah. And talk about, they say the children and the partners are the biggest, those are your biggest triggers, your biggest lessons in meditation and
Oh,
whatnot.
yes.
Ay, ay, ay. And your biggest, yeah, the mirror of my son is very extreme. And it's constantly in motion, kind of like rapid motion. I sometimes what worked 2 days ago is not going to work today. And my son does not, it's not words. And I think most kids, it's not going to be words.
Yeah.
It is not, no way. Their brain, and again, we're not machines, and they've only been here such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And the words and the conceptualization and the theories is not going to work. And so I notice, okay, I've done things like uh, more physical stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I got him this cool punching bag thing. We always have lived in incredibly beautiful nature immersed places. So it's like, we just got to go outside.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you got to go outside. Yesterday, I sent him outside. He threw this bag of chips because I said I wanted him to pick up the original mess. Then he throws the bag of chips. I said, you need to go outside. He goes out. He had like a 2-second cry. And then I hear this pounding in the dirt. And I let it go on for like a minute or two. And I look out and he's just like, oh, I'm digging this another garden bed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it doesn't always work like that. But I'm like, wow, he's out there. He sees the pickaxe. He's like, here's dirt. It's
Yeah.
not like in little ways, sure. Okay, approach him with curiosity. I do that so much. I'm like, what is going on for you? He can only really say so little, and he's got a low threshold for even wanting to talk about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, yes, I can come with curiosity and I can come with these physical things, but it's so, so different. And then with the
Yeah.
stories,
Yeah.
when I'm getting upset with him, I have to be like, whoa, what stories? Okay, so I have taken on my parents' stories. You don't
Mm.
need to just comply because I'm the adult. You
Yeah.
don't need to just listen, but I want that team. So I bring a lot of that team communication back. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to listen because I'm the boss. It's because it's you and me, bud. Like, this is our team, our home. We are doing these systems together. This is
Yeah.
I want to help build his appreciation and respect for this thing we're co-developing,
Mm.
not just I'm the authority and you need to submit.
Yes.
That's what I was taught. And I feel that inside of me. I feel like I want to exercise that, but there's never works. Look at it. It doesn't work anyways.
So my husband and I were just talking about, I'm like, I really feel like sometimes my responses that want to manipulate to control, right? Like I was like, one, that doesn't feel an integrity of how I want to parent, and two, it just never works. I mean, especially with my daughter, she will push it and put like she's like, I don't care what boundary or threat you're gonna give me, like I'm not gonna do because I don't want to. And it really has been this cultivation of unity, of team, of feeling them feeling like we're on the same team. And we have like family meetings every Sunday and we talk about, one, we love to share our sunshines, like our gratitudes to just be in that space. And then we talk about our week ahead and how we want to feel, our intentions of how we want to be as a family. And it really has brought a lot of unity in these conversations of allowing them to be like, you are equally a family member in this, in this family unit. And in that weaving and in that trust, there's been so much more collaboration and willingness to do the things like helping cook breakfast or helping with the dishes rather than I'm telling you to go do the dishes versus
Yeah.
hey, let's do this together. You rinse them, I'll put them in the dishwasher. Like we're together. I'm not just leaving you by yourself to go do this random chore, but in the togetherness and in that cultivation of trust and being on the same
Mhm.
team, it really creates that foundation so that when you are in that space of escalation, that layer of safety is already there. And so they know that and feel that and trust that. And I love how you said it's it's not going to always look the same, but knowing them and like how I expressed my husband with his playfulness, like he's gotten to know us deeper and in that knowing okay this scenario might require something different and like you said, children are not going to want to just sit there and have a lecture or a talk. It's so feeling
No.
like like sometimes my son just needs to push against me, like hand to hand, and we're like pushing, and then he understood that he likes the way that feels. So then he'll ask for that. Can you push? Can we have like a pushing match? And so then
Mm.
he begins to have more awareness of what his body needs. And I mean, like you said, nature. We live in a neighborhood, but we have this green belt behind us. And even before I went and dropped them off with, my stepmom, I was like, we're going to go behind the house and we're going to take some deep breaths. And they were resistant. They're like, can we just go? Like, what we want to go see Tita. And I was like, we're just going to go for a second. And the instant we walk into like the threshold of where it's like just forest and wooded, they're like, oh yeah. And then my daughter was like, I'm ready. And my son is like, I'm not ready yet. And he like knew. He's like, I need a little bit more time here. As excited as I am to go, see my grandparent, I need a little bit more. And so it really has been knowing ourselves deeper and seeing with curiosity, but also just being willing and wanting that for them in our dynamic, right? I want them to feel that trust. I want them to know that they're important and what their opinion is important. And yeah, I just love this conversation because really I feel like those are the themes that I've been hearing throughout our conversation is like the awareness, one, the willingness, and the curiosity, but just as we deepen into that, the level of trust and safety that is cultivated and that builds upon itself so that when future things show up, you already have this like exhale system
Mhm.
overarching foundation to be laid upon. And I love I love that takeaway that has been like weaved through our conversation. I am looking at the time and I want to honor both of our times. I would love for just like any last takeaways in the conversation of communication and coming into it with a heart open. Is there any last takeaways that you're like, "Oh, this needs to be shared?"
Not necessarily, just more of reflecting on. I'm glad that you brought up the word togetherness because that really is at the root of everything that I do and want to be doing. And we thrive in togetherness. That's our most natural state. Look at every living being and organism. So it's the kid doesn't want to do a chore alone. That sucks. We're not meant to be alone. Even the way we have our households,
Yeah.
single parents, just a husband-wife dynamic, all separated unless you and your whole family bought up the neighborhood. I'm hearing about this movement.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like this is the big root of all this dis-ease.
Hmm.
And you also reiterating the willing and wanting. The willing and wanting, like, who do I want to be? What am I willing to do? What do I want to show these kids? And if the kids feel the willing and want, oh, or any person really that you're interacting with, depending on how many layers of cement they've put in between their heart, but that togetherness piece, the willing and the wanting, when we're feeling wanted and like we belong, that does set the stage for that expansion, that vulnerability. It
Yeah.
really does invite that. And
Yeah.
that above all else, it's like the togetherness piece, but then, you can have all these subcategories off of the togetherness. Yes, the curiosity, the wanting, the willingness, like that's it.
Yeah. And just to speak onto that one last time, even in the houses that we live in, the separate rooms, right? Everything is separate, separate.
Yeah.
And even as we've, deepened in our family unit, we all sleep in one room now. Like my husband built us this beautiful big family bed where our beds are like together or we're in one room. And that just feels so solidifying to me. That feels better. I don't want to be separate from you. And even
Hmm.
even in just that feels so much more like cohesion in who we are as a family versus you go sleep in that room, you go sleep in that room, and we'll all come together in the morning. It feels so much more unifying even in that. Like, can we be closer? you
Yeah.
know Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm like, that's a whole other episode right there. I
I
love
know.
that. So I
I
love knowing
know.
that.
I know. Well, thank you for this conversation and your wisdom that you brought into it. Where can we connect with you more? What do you have where we can connect with your work? I would love to share that.
Yeah, I am very not active, very inactive on social media. I have such a resistance, but I do have social media. Um, do I say my social
Yeah, say
media?
your handles. I'll also
Okay.
put them in the show notes because you gave that
Okay.
to me, but just go ahead and say it.
My personal page is Aubrey Sabre, Sabre. My business page that I definitely neglect is opencompass.co. My website is opencompass.co. Also neglected, but as preparing a conference coming up in a week or two in Monterey, California, I there's going to be a shift with more intentionality into these digital social things.
Yes. A different way of being together that, can be utilized it can be utilized in very beneficial ways.
Right. Can be a tool.
Yeah.
Can definitely be a
Yes.
tool.
Yes. And do you have any workshops or anything coming up in the near future?
I have a few online workshops. Right now, they're through the college mainly. We're
Okay.
doing a couple circles on dialogue. We're working on public dialogue circles as well. So those will be posted on the website. The conference that's coming up, it is open to the public, but it's coming up on the 18th of this
Okay.
month.
Okay.
But so very short notice, and I think are already two spots left. But and anything else that's coming up will be posted on the
Okay.
Instagram and on the website.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy and the wisdom that I feel like this whole conversation had so many different threads. It could be podcast episodes all on their own, but it feels good to conclude there. It feels like we really wrapped up and heard the weaves and the ebbs of the threads that were embedded within the conversation. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you too. Thanks for connecting and bringing me on.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It has truly been an honor to walk alongside you and share my journey of motherhood with you. If you feel connected with this episode, I would just so love if you could leave a rating and a review. This really helps the podcast grow so that it can reach other mothers and women along this journey. And I always love hearing your takeaways and your interactions with this podcast. So if you ever feel called to share on Instagram and social media, be sure to tag me at the.embodied.mother so I can connect with you and your takeaways from this podcast. Until next time, I'm sending you with so much love and blessings on your journey in this life.